Something that I've always struggled with, that I believe a lot of us struggle with, is feeling like you understand, but you're not understood. And when I say that, what I mean is a lot of us, when we have people around us, whether it be friends, family, romantic partners, or even coworkers, strangers, I feel like we try our best to be empathetic, sympathetic, understanding, and we give people grace that they don't give to us usually. I feel like so many times there have been situations in life that things go wrong. And when someone else is the cause of those situations, you're able to say, you know what? Don't worry about it. I understand. Things happen. Don't beat yourself up about it. I'm not going to beat you up about it. All good. But then when the roles are reversed and you are the person who needs to be given the grace, it seems like you're held to the fire differently than everybody else, or the way you would do other people. And it gets frustrating. It gets very frustrating, actually, because at the end of the day, whether you really did do something wrong or not, depending on what that possibly was, and obviously we're talking about things that are not crazy, crazy bad, things that you should be given some grace for, at least from the people that are in your life and are supposed to love and care about you and, can give you that grace just off the strength of love. It it's frustrating because you you are able to give that same grace to people and they recognize it and almost expect it from you. And then they forget all about that whole thing when they have the opportunity to give that right back. And I don't know if it's narcissism. I don't know if it's manipulation. I don't know if it's some sort of weird thing in people's mind where their feelings matter more to them than anyone else's do. So, when they do something wrong, they don't expect people to be mad at them. But when you do something wrong, they are they need you to know that what you did was wrong. So they can't just give you that pass. And it's weird because when you think about it, so many things in our lives could be solved if we just were more understanding. If we gave if we had more empathy for the people around us. Because at the end of the day, even though there are certain things that, you know, we assume when you're an adult, you should just know. You know, when you think about it, when you have a baby, you give babies grace because you know that they don't know better. So you can't really expect much from them because of the fact that you know that they don't have the knowledge to be able to handle what you'd be expecting a person that is older to be able to handle. But when people are adults and we assume that they should know certain things that maybe they just don't know. Everybody's different, everyone's raised different, everybody comes from different backgrounds. So I think that we get caught up in thinking that our world and the way that we live is how everyone else lives and how everyone else sees the world. And we fail to remember that everyone is raised differently. Everyone has experienced so many different things in life. So when you put that into perspective, it does make you look at people differently. And it does make you understand that people are just people. And you do have to give people some sort of leeway when it comes down to certain situations, because you have to stop and think that you if you were in their shoes, you wouldn't know the things that you know. It's the same as if you use someone who was raised in poverty versus someone who was raised privileged. Literally, the only reason why the person who was raised with privilege has the knowledge that they have is because they could afford to have the knowledge that they have. But if you would have took that person out of poverty and gave them that same privilege, they would have more knowledge. But because they are impoverished, they're not even aware that there is a place where they could even get more knowledge, because they don't even have the knowledge to even know that. And so I think that we all, as people, need to learn how to be more understanding, but also allow ourselves to be okay with not being as understood. Because at the end of the day, it's frustrating when you're trying to get a point across and people are understanding what you're saying or they're misinterpreting what you're saying. I think that is the most frustrating thing in the world, is when you're saying something and it's coming out your mouth and it makes perfect sense to you, but someone that you're talking to is interpreting it a completely different way, probably in a way that you would not even have thought could be interpreted. And I think that we can get better at trying to be understood, but I think we also have to realize that we're not always going to be understood. So how do we feel okay with knowing we're under we're understanding, but we're not understood? It's complicated. And I think that the way I've managed to deal with it is to just know and recognize, kind of like I was just talking about a little while ago, is that other people only know as much as they were exposed to. So if I was exposed to more than you, yeah, maybe you're not going to understand me. And maybe I can try to get you to understand me, but if that doesn't work, I can't be upset at the fact that someone else who doesn't come from where I come from, doesn't their mental doesn't go up to the same levels mine does. We're just on two different pages, that they don't understand me. I can't be mad at that. I have to just accept that and be willing to know that what I know and what I've experienced in life and the way that my mental works is for me to understand. It may not be for other people to understand. As long as I'm moving with honesty, as long as I'm moving with pure intentions, that's all that really matters. As long as I'm not going around hurting people and the things I'm doing isn't making people upset or I'm losing people out of my life, I just have to accept that I may not be understood, but I'm okay. Because at the end of the day, I think having an understanding heart means so much more than being a person who's understood. Because I do think that, in a way, if everyone does understand you all the time, does that make you a simple person who doesn't have much complexity to them? And that's why you're so easily understood? Or are you shape shifting and turning into a different person depending on who you're talking to so that you can be understood? Because you're pretty much agreeing with everything they're saying, so you both are pretty much having the same point of view all the time, no matter who you're talking to, instead of you being an individual and bringing something different to the table. I rather be the type that is always going to be myself and have an opinion that may be controversial and have my own thoughts, whether you agree with them or not, and not be looking to be understood, but to have an understanding heart and to be okay with that. Because at the end of the day, there's not much you can do about the way other people think. If that were the case, a lot of the things that happen in our world wouldn't be happening if you can just change the way people think. So you do have to understand that it's okay to be under it's okay to understand and not be understood, because I do think it's more beneficial to understand other people, because it also helps you grow when you're able to look at people and hear their different perspectives, or understand that in general, this is just life. It's just a journey. Bad things are going to happen. Things are going to happen. People are going to do wrong things. And you can understand that and accept that, and know that at the end of the day, you're you, they're them. Don't be so hard on them, but also don't be so hard on yourself.